Here.
And Mark Eastman's here. The third item is facilities employee discussion. Sue?
The last time we discussed this, you would ask about fiscal impact and what this would look like, and Rachel prepared information in a way that she does for departments that are looking, like public safety, that does different kinds of details, speed details and those kind of things, and they need the benefit costs apportioned as part of the hourly wage. And so she did the same thing based on a $27.50 hourly rate, which becomes a frightening number when you look at it overall. But truthfully, that's the cost, total cost of an employee. We've discussed the why of this, and in some ways there are certainly concerns, but the necessity of this position is getting bigger, and that much of the work that has been assumed in this has been assumed by our Community and Economic Development Director, which directly takes him away from doing the things that bring business and development to the community. Not that these things aren't important, but only so many hours in the day and days in the week, and I think most here are in agreement that Rich's skill set is best expended on behalf of the town in selling our community and in positive ways. And the other thing that's happened is that in order to make the stuff get done, we have, on a very routine basis, taken a couple of employees away from Public Works in the summer when they're already shorthanded, because that's when Public Works can take vacations, in order to do waterfront and those kind of things. I've spoken to one of you who talked about if this position were to be considered, that it would have to have really, really strong boundaries and ways to measure accountability and savings to the community, avoided costs, shall we say, and others. And I don't disagree with that. Any new position, in all the years I've been here, the only things we've ever added for personnel were fire and police. We've added nothing else. We have not added other personnel to the staff. So this is what it looks like. This is a rough idea. It's not an entirely itemized list of all the duties, but it's the general scope of what it would look like. Considering it now or considering it as part of your budget, I really hope that it gets considered in one of those areas, because I have concerns about the toll we're taking in terms of at least one and probably more employees in this respect.
I think one thing for us to consider is, like, when we're going through the process to onboard a town manager, we now have sort of two roles into one, and those are two fairly high salaried roles if we had two positions. And if we position ourselves right with the trajectory of assistant town manager, there's a chance that cost savings, just to consider that cost savings of those dual positions for a finance director and a town manager, we haven't paid for a salary for a finance director as long as Sue's been in this tenure, so I feel like
the finance director position has a transition as well.
Okay.
Rachel, who is sitting in the back of the room, who has spent the last 2.5 years sort of learning the ropes on how to do this, so that that transition, when we hire, it won't be into a finance, there will be an adjustment for Rachel, but
It's not like a whole new position.
it's not a whole,
That's- yeah.
it's a, and the transition from assistant manager, when I leave, you'll have a manager and you'll have a clerk. You won't have a manager and a clerk assistant,
Right.
you'll
Yeah,
have,
but there's intent here with that.
Yeah.
the idea was not to create a permanent assistant manager position, that the plan for now was to transition responsibilities that I currently have to someone so they can be able to pick up
Yeah.
things without a loss of institutional knowledge as I leave and
Right.
they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the work that Rachel has put in to come up to speed to do this is really important, in that it has negated the need to do
That's kind
add
of
another body to the,
exactly
Right.
like another salary. That's kind of what I was getting at. We're already saving. I mean, a portion of that will go to altering the current wage for the new wage for the finance director, but that's sort of a saving.
but
for
not
us.
the same as adding,
Right.
saying Susan's leaving, we're gonna hire 2 people for her,
Exactly.
and then still keep everybody else
Yeah.
over there.
And I just think that money is best used to direct to facilities if we've got that
Yeah,
savings
we have a
potential.
lot of stuff that's not, that needs attention.
My point with adding some of the things that we had discussed as far as action plans with it is that any of us could walk by outside here and see that the window outside of code enforcement is rotted out and make a phone call and get someone to do that.
Yep.
And I just did not want to hire someone that is going to do that. I want to hire someone that is capable of fixing it, as well as many other problems that we have that would actually help us save money. Because we could delegate those types of things to people that are their department heads or that run their own buildings for the town already anyway. So if we're gonna implement this position, we need to be able to show the ways that they actually save money, that we don't have to hire some of these things out.
I see a lot of things on this list that, like, I could do myself, and I would expect somebody walking into this to be able to
absolutely,
do themselves.
The point of this job isn't for someone that can point their finger. That's not, the things that can be done physically, and then, a better, laundry list, shall we say, of condition of all of our buildings that the council can then have to determine how you want to move forward with the things that are bigger than a bread box, or that will need attention over time, which we don't currently have, for example, for this building.
Yeah, I also like the idea of sort of the last item, preparing a budget information and short and long-term maintenance goals. I think that could end up over time having a cost savings to us to have more proactive, preventative.
Address things before they,
Yeah.
Would we have this individual work with Rich directly in the beginning?
All of the stuff that Rich has in his head that needs to be downloaded would have to be, that would be a process that, the codes and the timers and all those things that go along with waterfront related things are things that would have to be, as I said, I won't say transition, but certainly a training, which is,
That stuff's that stuff's easy. I can do that freely. That's how I learned. Someone, Dwayne Neto showed me how to do that. So the timers and everything. It's just a lot of it's becoming a burden. So I try to keep the bathrooms open on the waterfront year round. And in the month of November, I had 5 complaints. The very last one was on Thanksgiving morning. I'm out of state. and someone literally stole the flush handle and the entire inner workings of the toilet. Now, it's $22, but it's the fact that I'm getting called on Thanksgiving Day. I'm getting called at my daughter's open house at UMO. I'm getting called at my daughter's open house at Husson. I'm getting called at 4:30 in the morning. It's I don't mind doing it, but I'm starting to mind to do it, especially.
It's not your job.
It's not, but the job is, to provide services to the public. So now the services, the bathroom's closed.
Well, the burnout consideration too, for you.
If only phones had off buttons.
They probably do, but no, but it's a lot of this stuff. And I
That's
think,
another transition issue for Mr. Rotella, that it is okay to have off button on occasion,
But I think that master plan of buildings, because obviously it's a lot cheaper to be proactive than it is to be
I
reactive.
learned that the really hard way.
Well, we're seeing it here. I mean, I've called in, so those of you who know me, I can't swing a hammer without hurting myself, so I do have to point and call someone to, we've had this roof repaired 3 times from the storms, so it's an original roof, so we really need to, let's get these before they end up in the shape when we inherited the Jewett School, ended up having to fix that up and then turn around and get rid, let's be proactive.
I just think, I want to make sure you're aware, and I'm sure you are, that this is going to be more of a burden on you in the beginning. It will get better, yes, of course, but it's going to be a lot on you, because you need to kind of guide this person.
Yes, no, absolutely, especially with the timers, because you have to know that when we lose power, the lights at the traffic light and the lights behind House of Pizza, those reset, so you have to manually go in and reset those. When it's daylight savings time, you have to go in and change the timers for certain times of the day. Try to be cognizant of saving electricity. Do we need them on at all hours of the night? Do we need them on this early in the morning? Plus balance what the public's asking of you as well. Big windstorms, for the grants, I have to come down and take those pictures because that's further shows proof of what the town's dealing with. But I didn't come in this morning to go retrieve garbage cans. Jay's crew came down and they took care of that for me. But I mean, these are things that legitimately happen that normally I would run down for, but.
Yeah.
Who would this position be accountable to for supervisor?
I think it would report to the town manager, because otherwise it's one more,
This was asking.
but as much as it, offloading will be retraining people not to dial his number and Rich not to answer the phone is going to be as difficult as training a new person to take this over.
What about?
Rich wants everybody to be happy, and he does his level best to make sure that happens. And it's not that anybody else is going to make anyone unhappy, but they may not approach it that at 4:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving is the appropriate time to call because the bathroom's not. And I don't think that's an unreasonable
No.
boundary to set for it. But as I said, the whole process will be an educational process for the community, for Rich, for whoever takes over this, and the job description will be a work in progress as we see things that need to become part of that.
What
Will
about
we be able to get
vehicles?
monthly performance reports like we do from all the other department heads on what has been done?
You not only monthly reports, you'd get the report that says this is the condition of the roof and the
We
these
don't want
windows in the
those.
town office.
We don't want to hear about all the problems. Sorry.
It's
Sorry.
one every time. Yes, there would be status reports on projects that were going on or recommendations for, buildings that need, we can't say that to the public safety director. We can't charge him for ringing his phone while we're here. No, there would be, but it would be a manager report.
Where would the office be?
Well, that's the next 100 year.
And a pickup truck filled with tools.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. What about vehicles?
Well, I can answer that for you.
The vehicle or the office?
Well, the vehicle. So the waterfront has a vehicle that has not been operational, so we've been using Jay's just because we have been taking two of his guys in the fall when the summer students leave, because it's Ron, and Ron's on unlimited work duty, so we have that vehicle that we use. They pick it back up and use it in the wintertime when they do individual trucks, but in the summertime projects are dually operated, so that they'll share a truck. So we've been using that one with the hope that if we could get away from that and into this position, look at possibly what the police department's doing and lease a pickup truck. Keep it cheaper, because there was reserve money a long time ago when Roger set capital reserve accounts for a truck. It didn't amount to very much, so that's what I borrow Jay's, because the other goal was going to be, as their trucks recycled out between sewer or the school or wherever they got a truck, the oldest truck would always come to the waterfront, because we don't need anything extravagant. There's nothing earth-shattering that someone needs to be down here at 4 in the morning.
We were told in other discussions from Jay that he would be able to designate a pickup truck for this.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's already happening.
And we have talked about the fact that what used to be the broadcast booth for this, the room behind Luke's, this position is not going to be a sit on your chair
There it is.
kind of
Right.
position. It's gonna be, I don't know how many of you have ever seen Rich sit in one place for more than 12 minutes at a time, but
Well, this just makes me think, I've never seen like mileage or anything like that in Rich's salary. Is it in there?
when Rich travels for
Out of town.
out of town, yes.
What about the, I'd say easily 20 miles a day that he's just going from point A to point B in town?
It's walking.
A lot of it is, but I've kindly refused it. I appreciate it, but if I have to leave Bucksport to get something when it's in this town, I enjoy doing it, so.
But that's not ethical on our part to make, to,
But if it's
Even-
offered and he decides not to take it, that's up to him.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's still, in my mind, that's not the
It's
right
certainly
thing.
non-sustainable.
Not for someone who's traveling around all the time. You only ever pay the manager to mileage if I leave town. So it doesn't matter where I go or what I do. I don't have a vehicle here. Rich is out and about way more than I am, but he's never submitted mileage for local stuff,
Wow.
only for when he's traveled to pick stuff up or go to meetings or those kind of things outside of town.
So with this, what's the benefit or downfall between an hourly and salary? Because I mean, hourly to me, if you want somebody that's getting a call on a Saturday because the toilet's broken, you want somebody to show up to fix the toilet. And versus, well, you know, and I know it says flexible up there, but many times people take that very much as I work from 7:30 to 5:30.
Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
You can, it creates a salary that's over the amount allowable for a salaried position.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very.
But it doesn't have direct reports,
Mhm.
other than you'll have summer maintenance workers and those kind of things will be direct reports, but generally it requires supervisory,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
those kind of things. Those hours will that's what the office works.
Yep.
But the idea isn't that there will be overtime every week because they've got to go, it needs to be flexible enough to, if there's an event on the waterfront that requires someone to be there for 4 hours on a Saturday, then they accommodate that somewhere else in their schedule, so that it's not a 40 hours plus kind of gig. That's not how this is envisioned.
I think when you say salary, though, it just sinks in better that you're gonna be,
Available.
this is the pay, but
That's the,
don't count on the day job, because
Right,
there's gonna be
it's
more.
gonna
I'd
have-
love to be hourly.
and the only part that I envisioned, if they were acting as a spare for Public Works at night because they were needed, they'd get paid for that differently than if just regular. But if they had that skill set, they could do that. Just that wouldn't be part of their regular work. But it would provide highway with a night spare if they needed one, and for that, which we didn't use last year.
I think if you find the right person that's motivated to do this job, it's highly valuable because it is, it's like you said with the window. If you don't have somebody fixing it, you're calling a contractor, and you're gonna pay twice as much for, 3 times as much to have that done, so,
It's gonna be a hard find,
yeah.
in my mind, of what I'm expecting of this. I know that.
Yeah, a couple, just, nobody has approached, I would be surprised if anybody has approached any of you, but certainly have not approached me to say that, well, one of the solutions here is to stop doing some of these things. Second, we have been getting more than our money's worth doing things the way we've been doing them, and again, I just fall back on that's not sustainable. And then, just this building here, no matter your opinion on the building and its use of it, right? Because there are some people that don't mind saying that perhaps a town office shouldn't be right here on the waterfront. Okay, let's grant you that. This building, however, is owned by the town, and it's on the waterfront, and it has a certain value, and to let it deteriorate on any level is inexcusable.
I agree.
So we need to stay ahead of those type of things, and someone has to be,
Ever
not that
since,
they're not, but somebody has to be accountable.
ever since I've been on the council, of course, you were here before me, I've said it many times, and so have you, that not just the building, everything we have,
Mhm.
take care of it or get rid of it.
That's right. Yep. And our schools are, as somebody who, previous life was on the school committee, our schools are in much better shape now with that sort of mindset than they might have been if you lived in Bucksport 30 years ago.
So what you're looking from us is whether we want to move it forward and what the timing is, whether it's budget season or.
That's correct.
Motion to move it to council.
I'll second it, I'm fine with it, I just wanna make sure that salary is the way to go, and I wanna make sure this person's hands-on, like we just discussed, the office doesn't need to be much bigger than
Cubicle.
the inside of this desk.
A laptop and a desk and, access to the printer that we all share. Brittany, that's the printer's name. We all share it.
Oh.
I was like, who's that?
No, that's the printer's name. She's almost taken trips to the ocean. But we share the printer. But really, that's what,
Who named
I'm
it?
not. Someone in the back row. Anyway, my discussion was that since IT is now next door in the room that formerly was Rich's office and then was a storeroom, is now all of our IT headquarters lives in that room. And so that leaves that there. And there's been discussion, and just might as well throw this into the mix, in that that when I am leaving, that, and probably before that, because Jacob and I will be sharing a larger office, and the assessor may go in where my office is, and Jacob and I would share the front, so there's a place for that. That also answers the public safety aspect of that room being available, because our assessor is now a part-time individual, and that door can be kept closed until someone wants to see him. So, that's another, moving the chess pieces around so that we have enough room in the existing building to do everything that needs to happen.
That's a great idea. That takes care of that door issue that we talked about for a long time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
No one will ever get Jacob.
So we have a motion and a second to move it to council. Any comments? All those in favor? Motion passes. Item 4,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?